My name is Martina and I am the Best Day event director. Today we have here with us co-founder and CEO of Flexkeeping, Luka Berger. Luka, welcome.
Thank you very much. Great to be here, Martina.
It's really great to have you here. And for the first step, can you please tell us a little bit more about Flexkeeping? And why I'm saying that? Because I was always thinking that you are an IT company. That was my first association. Can you tell me something else?
Oh, absolutely. No, I'd love to tell you the short story of Flexkeeping and why we are far more or very different to a typical IT company in the hospitality industry. So our story really goes back to 2012 when I spent one summer in the US in Yellowstone National Park as a housekeeper. And for me, that was the entry into hospitality. Personally, I always adored hotels, but that was really the opportunity when I came into operations and saw them inside out. And so what happened in my summer there as a housekeeper was that I just started observing how our operations were organized back then. And that was, typical pen and paper. I got papers, that's it. And we went working, and the problems I saw during that summer is that our supervisor was running around the hotel. We had no way to let others know what we've done. The front office was always challenged by not knowing what's done, what's not. Guests had to wait, etc., etc. So the idea that was born that summer was very simple, and in its core, it's still the same. Is like, how can we make it way easier for staff members to do their jobs first, and then consequently, that would mean a lot of cost saving and improved services for the guests at the end of the day. And that was really what the idea was. And this is when it started. It didn't start in 2012. We needed a few years. We were not IT people. I'm not an IT person at all. So he's not my co-founder. So we started around 2015, and then the story of Flexkeeping was really born. And so from that part, we went through kind of like building in the beginning an app for housekeeping to becoming a platform for operations. We now work with mostly big resorts, big hotel chains around the world. And how we are trying to support them is really in achieving four things. The first one is efficiency. So just being way more efficient and effective in operations every day. Second one is staff experience. So making it easier for them, distressing their job, being able to include them better in your hotel environment. Third one is guest experience. So obviously the hospitality is there to drive guest experience and just satisfaction and providing that amazing experience. And the third one at the end of the day is enabling data-driven or strategic management on how to improve on all of the three things that I mentioned. So how to be more efficient, how to provide even better staff and guest experience. That's really the big picture. Yeah.
You mentioned that you start with solving some issues and some problems that you saw 12 years ago. And then now you just told me what operational challenges hotel face today and how Flexkeeping is solving them. Is there anything else that you are helping in operational challenges to the hotels? How to solve any challenges, how to be their partner on this way?
Yeah, I mean, there are really many small challenges that any hotel has. But let's say on a high level, I think that two major things in operations. One is inefficiencies. Every operation is full of them, and that immediately translates either into problems in service, into dissatisfaction, into bigger costs, and so on. So that's the first very big thing, is just driving more efficiency. We can get specific, absolutely. But the other one is staffing, of course. Like we all know, it's the biggest challenge of the industry currently and for years.
And tell me,
two items, yeah.
Can you tell me, once when a hotel starts implementing Flexkeeping for the first time, after how much time do you have a feedback from the hotel, and what kind of the feedback?
Yeah. The first relief is really fast. Because if you imagine that before, let's say you are a 500 room hotel that has to organize your all of your departments specifically, and especially a housekeeping department that has can have hundreds of people and way more than that, preferences of guests and different types of servicing them and preferences and their experiences and so on. And so managing this is really a hassle. So the first thing that happens is a huge relief, because kind of out of the box effect is that you get a lot of time back. You save a lot of those things. You get clarity. All of a sudden you understand what's happening. You have responsibility. You can just control what's happening and be at ease a little bit. So that's the number one. So the feedback is there's a lot of happiness and a lot of less in especially managers, but also line staff in everyday work. The
And
second,
how?
yeah, sorry, go ahead. But the second, that's the first impact. The second impact comes after weeks or months, when you start realizing, and we together start working on actually the changes you can make, right? And this is where understanding what really a property wants to achieve in terms of services or guest experience or whichever objectives they have, then becomes possible, because now all of a sudden you have information, you have that transparency, and now you can start making changes that measurably get you to your objectives. And this is really when that becomes super exciting and valuable on a strategic level for the property. So there's kind of those two effects. Like one is immediate, and second starts developing and building up through time.
And we talked about the management of the hotels, and how about the employees, and how, let's say, onboarding of the new staff is working.
Yeah. So in our cases, we do two types of onboarding. In one case, we would do that online, just remote and online. And in the other cases, it would be us coming to the property. Now, if we are focusing on more complex operations and more high-end and bigger properties, that's almost always we would come there. We would have a very well, let's say, defined program, and then we would also focus a lot of time on people individually. One thing that everyone is the most typical kind of worry of everyone is like, will our staff be able to cope with all that new tech? That's a very common worry. And the trick is just in building that trust environment on their side. So the management needs to build that trust environment, that it's really for the better of everyone. And the other part is giving them time and allowing mistakes. So letting them know that there can be mistakes, and we know, and don't worry, just be brave and try it out. And then it works. And then the funny thing is that the people that are most afraid, and there are many in operations, are then the biggest fans, because they learn something new. They actually see and feel that it's making their life so much better and easier. And that's the best feeling, really, for everyone. It's a true win-win-win outcome in most cases.
That sounds amazing. And we know that not only the future, but already today, but especially the future of the hotels and the hotels business will depend on different revenue streams, not only of like the hotel rooms and those, let's say, basic services. How can hotels use Flexkeeping to identify and maybe encourage additional revenue streams? Do you have any maybe example?
Yeah, I do. I have actually two thoughts here. I really do. So I strongly believe that. So, okay, first one is what we currently do and how we can improve on that. And let's say those would be the services that typically hotels would be providing already for years, for decades, maybe, such as room service. And I have an example where we have a customer that regularly analyzes the trends of their room service orders, and then aligns and adjusts the menus based on that, based on seasons, based on weeks, based on preferences. And you can go as deep as you want, right? You can go on demographics or groups, or whichever way you manage your guests, you can then go analyzing that and then optimizing your menus. That can again serve on two ways. One is if you optimize the offering, you can also optimize the costs. The other part, which is more attractive, obviously, is upselling more, offering better menus to better guests. So that's one concrete one. But the other thing that is super untapped at this moment is personalization. And I think that's one of the biggest opportunities to drive. One is more loyalty, and second is more revenue. And this is where we see ways and opportunities and are already starting to provide the solutions to that, where you include all of your staff members to suggest or set up micro personalizations on multiple touch points of a guest stay.
For
And
example, I'm coming to the hotel now, and
yeah,
the hotel is using Flexkeeping.
yeah.
And how would you make this personalized to me? So how would you help the hotel operations to provide me as their guest a more personalized experience?
Yeah. So now we need to clarify if you're the first time or if you are
No, no,
already.
no. I'm the ambassador of that brand. So I spend over there, let's say twice, at least twice a year.
Exactly. So what we want in that case, ideally, is that, number one, the hotel needs to embrace personalization in their organization. I think that's a great opportunity. And then at that point, I can give you like a few personal examples how you could do that. So, for example, I love tiramisu as a dessert. Let's
Me
say
too.
I get it. There you go. Let's say there's a day that they do the tiramisu and it's amazing, and I tell that to the waiter because I'm just amazed because for some reason tiramisu is so simple, but you almost never get a good one, right? So when you get a good one, that's amazing. And so now that waiter or that head of F&B or the GM or whoever I tell that to can automate that into Flexkeeping to say that whenever Luka comes the next time to our hotel, make sure you deliver fresh tiramisu to his room on the second day at 5 p.m. or 3 hours after arrival or at any point that you want to set up for my stay and put a personalized note, something like because we know you love that or whatever, you know what I mean. That will be one example. The super easy other example that we do for a lot of time already is in housekeeping services. Again, if I come with my family, we'll probably never use daily cleaning, but we'll probably always request extra towels the next day or every 2 days or something. And this is another personalized automation that can be easily set every time that I come with my family, right? That's different than if I would come alone. We could automatically have this set up. It will be planned, scheduled, forecasted in the service. And again, they could add a personalized note. And I think those are such easy, obvious, small touches that are almost never done for now.
Yeah,
And
definitely. And now when you just were telling that story, now I'm imagining my next holiday at that hotel brand that I know that they are using Flexkeeping, and I will have even more my eyes open on that to see how do they implement
absolutely.
that.
Now, right, you need to like this is where I think that it's being talked about, which is great, but it's not being executed as much yet. I mean that kind of personalization level, and I think there are two things to be done. So one is providing more such tech like we do, so that they can do that easier. And secondly, they need to start developing that service philosophy internally, right? And be aware that every guest member should be the driver of personalization, not
Maybe
just the
we can
front
do,
office.
yes, maybe we can do some hidden guest experience.
Yes.
So we now touch the point where we see the possibility of different revenue streams. And now we come to the main topic of the next best say event, which is perfecting profitability. And there is a really good reason why this topic is over there. And can you tell me how does Flexkeeping contribute to the better cost management or profitability of the hotels?
Yeah. So again, a few different levels of how we do it. All right. So let's say in some typical or some departmental operations, such as again housekeeping, where we started off, or where we let's say would have the biggest initial effect, is that know we know everything about how a property operates, and we know how they would service their guests based on who the guests are, their preferences, and so on. So level one is also that we enable them to personalize also how they service different guest types or agreements or so on. So that means that not every room needs to be serviced in the same way when it comes to something basic like a housekeeping service. So the first level we do is we understand that and automate that for them, and then also forecast that for them. That means that you can now know, based on your reservations, how much staff and what types of services, and then consequently resources you will need, and that helps you accurately plan. And this is the first and huge impact that you have on being actually efficient and also resource efficient. So you would have big savings out of that level.
Especially on those hotels that depend on the season, on the different seasons. Am I right?
Exactly. Yeah. Yes. And also just that complexity again. So we need to bear in mind that today, especially in bigger properties, preferences are changing. And that's okay. That's great, actually. You just need to be able to enable that. And then the complexity is when, again, you have 500 rooms with 500 different preferences. It's a nightmare to plan that. And also, you will most definitely miss an ideal kind of resource planning in terms of people and in terms of resources, because it's just very hard. That's a huge changer.
Yes, it is change. And then when we talk about that you have a different costs, now we come to the one of your favorite topics, which
Yeah.
is ABC costing. AB, like can you please AB like activity-based costing? Can you please tell me a little bit more about that and how is that tool, why is that tool important in hotel operations? And what does it mean for hotel?
Yeah. So activity-based costing is more a methodology to figure out um, how much cost. So let's yeah, how much costs are being attributed based on independent activities to a guest stay. That's really the idea here. So it comes out of manufacturing to really figure out kind of unit costs. So how does this apply to hospitality, and why do I think this is such an amazing opportunity that will probably change the way we manage profitability? Not probably, for sure it will change. Because historically, every hotel is there. We are very good in forecasting revenues per channels, and that's the focus. So you know exactly how much you get into your revenue groups and which channels and so on. So you know that profitability of that side, but very bad on the operations side, because usually what would happen is you have your all costs, and then you would split them at available rooms or per room night or something, right? But that's just because that was the only cost-effective way to measure your costs on an available unit. But it's completely wrong in terms of if you want to understand profitability of an individual guest segment or even an individual guest as such. And then this is where we come in as the key unlocking platform for this, because what Flexkeeping does is we understand exactly what's happening on the operational side within rooms, and even more than that, guest services, some personalization, maintenance. So all the whole room division plus F&B when it comes to services. What that means is that we are starting to enable that side of data that then enables a hotel, if they have the right structure of data from all perspectives, to not just say what's our average cost per room, but it's like how much does Luka mean in costs, or how much does Martina mean, or how much does group A in our segmentation mean in profitability. And that then means that if you have your segments really well structured, perhaps you figure out that actually the first one you thought is the most important is actually less profitable than the second one in your current revenue stream. And this is where you can change your strategies in distribution and acquisition.
Yes, that definitely sounds like a game changer for the hotel operations and the hotel business. And we already talked, actually, you mentioned that there are some struggles sometimes on even those lower level jobs uh, to embrace technologies, but there are actually struggles on every level, I would say. And but also those struggles are different on different markets. And can you tell us, do you have any experience, or could you tell us from which regions or from which markets you have experienced that the understanding or the enthusiasm of implementing those tech solutions and innovations went in the most smooth way?
Yeah, so I wouldn't bind that much to the markets. I would bind it to the teams that manage and run those companies. And this is the defining differentiator always, that when there is a team behind a hotel company that has clear objectives, what they want to achieve in terms of hospitality, and are also pure hospitality souls. That's a very important combination for hospitality services, in my opinion. Those are the ones that we do best projects with, and they do best projects in general. And we found such teams in almost every country, or a major market that we would
And
operate.
what is that kind of, now you actually mentioned the way how the team works. This is, I would say that this is kind of the mindset, what kind of mindset the leader has, and then the team.
Yeah.
What kind of mindset do they have to have?
Exactly. So obviously, so a few typical kind of targets every hospitality company has to have is, one is obviously profitability because it's a business, and then the second and third one is guest experience and satisfaction, and staff experience and satisfaction, because those are the three basic elements of the formula, right? In my opinion. And then this is the right, the best teams are really focused then very smartly in those objectives, but also they are then aware of their types of service. Not every hotel has the same offering, as we know. Some are luxury, some are lean, some are business, some are leisure, and so on. You have your own kind of pluses and minuses, and then you lean into them, right? And sometimes it goes down to like, and then this is where objectives become really accurate. And this is the best cases that we have. Like the one that I mentioned before, that was a five-star resort, all inclusive, that has the room service menus, and they know that this is a experience item, a cost driver, and so on. So that's why they're optimizing that. Another example would be that, maybe it's a hotel that cannot provide many services, but they want to provide guests to check in at 2 p.m. latest. So you operationally focus on that metric. So that's your Northern Star in operation, but then there's also guests and staff satisfaction that you nurture in different ways next to that. So this is the combo where you nurture all those three elements together, and then you invest or deploy technology in the right way to achieve that. So if that makes sense, that's what I believe is, that's how the best teams operate.
Yeah,
And so
definitely, it makes sense. So what I learned so far is that Flexkeeping is bringing relief and happiness into the operational business of the hotels and to the guests.
yeah, and then it brings the huge opportunity to the management teams to improve on efficiency and profitability, and that's through that transparency and the strategic data that they get. That's really the third big thing that the owners and managers and top management get from our platform.
Luka, I know that we could talk now for hours, and I am really excited and looking forward to seeing you at Best Day in February in Zagreb. And thank you very much for this lovely chat today. So thank you also that you watched us, and we are all inviting you to join us at Best Day in Zagreb in February in Sheraton Hotel.
Thank you so much, Martina. See you there.
See you there. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.